Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, Lamar Wilkerson drops 44 to set an Assembly Hall scoring record.
And volleyball goes dancing for the first time since 2010. This is Hoosier Sports Night.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Emily Fox.
And I'm Maura White. Emily, can you believe we're finally at the last taping of the semester?
Last taping of the semester. Took me long enough to get on camera, huh? And speaking of someone that took long enough, Indiana football made history on Saturday as they defeated the Ohio State Buckeyes 13-10 in the Big Ten Championship, their first outright title since 1945. Lucas Oil Stadium was a sea of red as the Hoosiers and Buckeyes squared off in the 1-2 title game. It was a defensive showdown, no doubt, as coming into the game, Ohio State had statistically one of the best defenses of the last 30 seasons of college football. Those numbers were not daunting for Indiana, however. Quarterback Fernando Mendoza, despite getting drilled on the first play from scrimmage, had a standout day, especially when connecting with his roommate and wide receiver, Charlie Becker. Becker finished with 126 yards on the day and was one Jeremiah Smith Hail Mary away from leading the entire championship game in receiving yards. The Indiana defense stood the test, holding the 13th ranked scoring offense in Ohio State to just 10 points by making impressive red zone stands. And of course, the disastrous 27-yard field goal missed by Jaden Fielding. As the clock struck 0 at Lucas Oil Stadium, the Hoosiers were champs of the Big Ten and a surefire -- 1 team in college football.
We have a special team here. We did a lot of ugly things, offense, defense, special teams as well. But for us, I think when it came down to it, and, in the biggest moments, that's when we shined as a team. Defensively, I think we did a great job, limiting their points, their explosives, and, forcing them to make the mistakes. We weren't going to be the ones that, were giving up the blown assignments or coverages or anything like that. Just forcing them to, make mistakes and making them uncomfortable. But we know we didn't play a perfect game. That's hard to do in football. So just knowing that we can do that and still have a good victory like that is something that, gives us a lot of confidence, but definitely have to improve going forward.
With the win, Indiana claims the #1 overall seed in the college football playoffs as they will be out in Pasadena, California for the Rose Bowl on January 1st.
The IU men's basketball team started a 1-1 Big Ten play record on Tuesday night, defeating the Nittany Lions 113-72 in a game that had fans on their feet. Our Josie Broyles has the story.
Lamar Wilkerson turned Simon Scott Assembly Hall into his own shooting stage Tuesday night, dropping a program record of 44 points and 10 three-pointers to carry Indiana to a 113-72 win over Penn State.
Coach told me that today was going to be the day that I got hot, because I've been having a rough couple of games. So he fed me the ball, and then I seen 1, 2, 3 go in, and then after that, they just find a hot hand, so they kept feeding me, and then shots kept going in.
His 8th, 9th, and 10th threes had the crowd going wild as IU blew the game open and took complete control of the night.
He has that confidence. He puts in the work, every day, and it was fun to see him kind of get loose and kind of showcase, all that work he puts in.
Wilkerson wasn't the only Hoosier putting pressure on Penn State. Reed Bailey came all the way from Davidson to show Bloomington what he's got, and tonight he didn't disappoint. Reed Bailey was no less than perfect, going 6 for 6 for 18 points, adding fuel to the fire. Tayton Connerway added 17 with 7 assists, and Tucker DeVries chipped in 12.
Let's just keep being ourselves. There's always things we've been working on, whether it's being more physical or sharing the ball, all those types of things. But just getting back to how we play some basketball.
This was the response IU needed after 2 straight losses and heading into Saturday night's game against Kentucky.
We lost the last 2, so we were just coming in here as a team, as a collective, just trying to get back to the way we've been playing, and, the ball was just going in.
The Hoosiers are now 1-for-1 in Big Ten play and will head to Lexington, Kentucky to take on the Wildcats this Saturday. For IUSTV Sports, this is Josie Broyles.
The Hoosiers will be back this Saturday to travel down to Lexington, Kentucky to take on the Wildcats at Rupp Arena.
Indiana women's basketball opened up Big Ten play on the road in Champaign, Illinois for a matchup with the Fighting Illini. Senior guard Shea Chesky knocked down a jumper 20 seconds into the game to give the Hoosiers a 2-0 lead. However, things spiraled from there. The Fighting Illini would go on a 22-6 run following the Chesky bucket on their way to a 28-12 lead at the end of the first quarter. Illinois would not look back from there, taking a 22-point lead into the half after forcing 12 Indiana turnovers in the first 20 minutes. Despite the Hoosiers outscoring Illinois by 15 points in the fourth quarter, it wasn't enough as they fell 78-57. Chesky led Indiana in scoring, finishing with 23 points. It was her 5th straight game with 20 or more points and her 8th this season. The Hoosiers will look to regroup on Thursday as they take on the University of Louisiana-Monroe in Simon Scott Assembly Hall.
Coming up after the break, we crown this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And volleyball dominates their first NCAA tournament appearance since 2010. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night.
Joining us in studio for this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week is IUSTV sports reporter Oliver Swats. Oliver?
Thanks, guys. We had a busy weekend of Indiana sports, but this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week goes to the athlete who's a killer for the women's volleyball team, Candela Alonso Corceles. She's already the program's winningest player, and this past weekend she helped her team dominate in the first 2 rounds of the Women's Volleyball Championship. In the Hoosiers' first game last Friday against Toledo, Alonso Corceles was everywhere on the floor, racking up 8 digs and 2 aces from her serve. But the place where she truly separates herself is up at the net, and she proved it with 12 kills to lead Indiana's offense. Now, in her senior year, she has already cemented herself as one of the greatest volleyball players Indiana has ever seen step on the court, ranking top 10 in all-time kills at IU. But getting in the record books isn't what she's worried about right now. Winning is all that matters. In their second game on Saturday against the 5-seeded Colorado Buffaloes, Alonso Corceles had one of the best games of her career. With 16 kills on 55.6% hitting, with just 1 attack error, plus 6 digs, 3 assists, and 2 blocks, she didn't only make her presence known, she owned the court and left no doubt to Indiana fans that their team would be headed to the regionals round. The Hoosiers will travel to Austin, Texas to take on the number 1 seeded Texas Longhorns on December 12th, where they'll look to keep this magical season going. I'm Oliver Swats, sending it back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Oliver. Football isn't the only Hoosier team making a huge playoff run, with volleyball making their first trip to the NCAA Sweet 16 for the first time since 2010. Our Mike Badrov has the recap from the team's perfect start to the tournament.
After beating Toledo and Colorado University for the first time since 2010, Indiana University Volleyball is headed to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA tournament.
Special is the only way to describe the Hoosier Volleyball weekend, as Indiana got to host the first 2 rounds of the tournament right here in Wilkinson Hall. For all of the seniors, this will be their last games in the home gym. Game 1 of the first round was a 3-set sweep against the fierce Toledo Rockets. With a quick tempo offense, 10 service aces, and a dominant net presence, Steve Baird achieved his first playoff win as the Hoosier head coach.
I haven't really looked at the numbers, but to me they're irrelevant. It's about the next thing, and kids will go home, get rest. The best part of the program is, sitting beside me. It's having veteran kids who are flat out great and young kids who are as good as it gets in the country. And the bookend of it has made the year exceptional and fun, and very, very proud of our first tournament win in 15 years.
Moving on to Colorado University, the Buffaloes came to play, but it would be another 3-set sweep for the Hoosiers. Led by the veterans of the team, with senior middle blocker Maddie Sell earning 7 blocks, and senior outside Candela Alonso Corceles hitting at nearly 600%, the Hoosiers were firing away for the win. In the late game, Colorado looked to force a 4th set in the game, but AVCA Midwest Region Freshman of the Year, Teodor Krichkovic, would make the final serve to end the game, forcing an error from the Buffaloes to send the Hoosiers to the 3rd round of the playoffs.
When I say it's 17 kids on the team that deserve their flowers, that's what I mean. It's a great team win. Thrilled for Indiana, thrilled for the program, certainly thrilled the most for the players.
The Hoosiers are now leaving Wilkinson Hall for the rest of the postseason. They will head to Austin, Texas to play the number 3 Longhorns for a chance to advance to the Elite 8. For IUSTV Sports, I'm Mike Badrov.
The Hoosiers will travel to Austin, Texas to play the number 3 Texas Longhorns for a chance to head to the Elite Eight.
Indiana Wrestling competed in 2 matches over the weekend, hosting Central Michigan on Friday and number 22 Little Rock on Sunday at Simon Scott Assembly Hall, in what was their first time wrestling in the hall in 2 years. On Friday, the Hoosiers had Central Michigan's number as soon as they hit the mat, securing an early 5-point lead by way of a Jacob Moran 20-5 tech fall win. The Hoosiers came out victorious in 8 out of the 10 bouts, including Joey Butler getting the first-ranked win of his collegiate career. Indiana would go on to win 33-7. To round out the weekend, the Hoosiers found themselves in a hole, down 12-11 after the 6th bout. However, they bounced back, winning 3 of the last 4 bouts en route to a 25-16 victory over Little Rock. Moving to 4-1 on the season, Indiana will stay in Bloomington for a duel against Army on Saturday afternoon at Wilkinson Hall.
Indiana Swim and Dive faced off against Cincinnati last Friday in their first home meet since September. Our Oliver Swats has more.
Here at the Councilman Billingsley Aquatic Center in Bloomington, the Indiana Hoosiers men's and women's swim and dive teams dominated all areas of the water today as they faced off against the Cincinnati Bearcats. The number 3 ranked men's team controlled the pool as they remained undefeated, winning 162-112, while the number 10 ranked women's team pick up where they left off to secure a 157-124 win. Here's what Coach had to say.
Well, Christina Pagel, she qualified for NCAAs in the 50 freestyle. I thought she had a great meet and awesome senior leadership. Miranda Grana set a program record in the 2 fly. She's really never done that before, and that was fantastic. On the men's side, Raekwon Noel is rapidly developing into that superstar that we're looking for.
The Hoosiers pick up the 319-236 win and will have a month off before their next meet. Jumping over to the diving boards, Ella Roselli won the 1 meter with a score of 317 and the 3 meter with a score of 364. On the men's side, Joshua Solenberger won the 1 meter scoring a 391 and Maxwell Weinrich put up a whopping 425 points on the 3 meter. A sweep from our swimming and diving team to continue what's been a very successful season. Hoosiers won't be back in the water until January 9th, where we'll be heading up north to Ann Arbor to face off against the Michigan Wolverines. For IUSTV, I'm Oliver Swats.
The Hoosiers look to get back in action on January 9th as they take on the Michigan Wolverines in Ann Arbor.
The Indiana men's hockey team faced off against the Miami, Ohio Redhawks in their final home game of the semester on Friday. The game started off how you would expect a rivalry game to go, with a lot of physicality and a lot of words exchanged between the players. Unfortunately, the Redhawks struck first with a goal by Graham Newton in the back half of the first period to go up 1-0. After a very back-and-forth second period in which neither team was able to score, the Hoosiers were looking to change the momentum, which is what they did when a goal by forward Davis Yergers evened the score at a goal apiece. With just under 3.5 minutes left in the game, it was forward Ian Burke who got to play the role of the hero, scoring near the end of a power play to seal the comeback victory, with the Hoosiers winning by a final score of 2-1. Assistant coach Andrew Goose spoke on the team's mentality going into that final period.
The message in the room was, remember all these people that are coming to support you guys. So the players kind of remembered that, took a deep breath, got themselves back together. We had all 4 lines going there, which is great to have that depth. And it's tough to defend with Miami when they keep sending waves after waves at you. We did the same thing, but just a little bit better there. And we actually capitalized off their mistakes in the third period with penalties. And we knew that they were a bit of a hothead team, as well as with the history of them, seeing them in the national championship a few years ago. It was good to have their number again and show the fans what Indiana club hockey is all about.
The Hoosiers would then complete the sweep against the Redhawks in an away game Saturday by a score of 6-5.
Joining us now in studio with the Candy Stripe calendar is IUSTV sports reporter Grace Ballard. Grace?
Thanks, guys. Finals and the holidays may be near, but the Hoosiers aren't letting up. With teams traveling and competing at home this weekend, as we move on to Friday, track and field kicks off its indoor season, hosting the Indiana Early Bird Invitational at the Harry Gladstein Fieldhouse. Indiana volleyball travels to Austin to face top-seeded Texas in the Sweet 16. A win would send these Hoosiers to Sunday's regional final and one step closer to the national semifinals. On Saturday, men's basketball hits the road for a major rivalry game against Kentucky. Tip-off is at 7:30 p.m., and wrestling will host West Point in a non-conference matchup at Wilkinson Hall, with the match scheduled at 2 p.m. Looking to Sunday, women's basketball will play at Assembly Hall against Eastern Michigan. Tip-off is at 1 p.m. That's all I have for this week's Candy Stripe calendar. Back to you guys.
And that's our show for the week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports to keep up with all the latest in IU athletics. For our production crew behind us, I'm Maura White.
And I'm Emily Fox. We'll see you next semester.